The conference room in Geneva was the most beautiful place on Earth, or so the politicians said. Tall windows showed the mountains in the distance, and the marble floors reflected the afternoon sunlight. Today, that room held the most important meeting in human history. The aliens had finally arrived. Ji-won Park stood at the head of the table, her hands folded neatly in front of her. She wore a simple blue suit and had practiced her smile 1,000 times in the mirror. As chief diplomat for the United Earth Council, she would be the first human voice the aliens heard. Behind her stood Tae-ho Kim, tall and quiet in his military uniform. His job was to watch and say nothing, but his eyes missed nothing. The Valorians entered the room like they owned it. Ambassador Qualrex walked in first, his purple skin gleaming under the lights. He was tall, maybe 8 feet, with 4 arms and eyes that looked at humans like they were insects. Behind him came 6 guards, all carrying weapons that hummed with strange energy. Ji-won bowed slightly. "Welcome to Earth, Ambassador. We are honored by your presence." Qualrex made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Yes, I am sure you are. Your planet is quite small. Your technology is quite primitive. But the Valorian Empire is generous with lesser species." Taeho's jaw tightened, but he stayed silent. Ji-won kept smiling. The negotiations began poorly and got worse. Qualrex demanded that Earth give the Valorian Empire mining rights to half the planet. He demanded that humans accept Valorian observers in every city. He demanded that Earth stop developing any military technology without Valorian permission. "These are standard terms," Qualrex said, waving one of his 4 hands dismissively. "All primitive worlds accept them. You should feel grateful that we offer you protection." "Protection from what?" Ji-won asked carefully. "From the dangers of the galaxy, of course. From species that might harm you. From yourselves." Qualrex leaned forward. "Primitive species often destroy themselves. We prevent that." The meetings continued for 3 days. Each day, Qualrex became more insulting. He called human art childish scribbles. He said human food smelled like rot. When a human aide dropped a data pad, Qualrex laughed and said that humans had clumsy little fingers. On the 4th day, Ji-won arranged a tour of human cities. She hoped that seeing Earth's beauty might soften the ambassador. The delegation visited Paris, Tokyo, and Rio. Qualrex mocked everything. The Eiffel Tower was a primitive antenna. The gardens of Kyoto were weeds, organized by simple minds. The beaches of Rio were dirt covered in water. Hana Lee was the young translator assigned to walk beside Qualrex. She was 23 years old and spoke 17 languages, including the Valorian tongue. She had studied for 5 years to earn this position. She translated every word perfectly, even the cruel ones. "Tell me, small one," Qualrex said to Hana as they walked through a museum. "Do you understand how far beneath us you are? Do you know that your entire species is nothing but animals pretending to be civilized?" Hana kept her face calm as she translated his words to the human observers. Inside, her heart pounded with anger and shame. On the 6th day, Colonel Mina Choi joined the delegation. She was the head of Earth's orbital defense network, though the Valorians thought that network was just a few simple satellites. Mina watched Qualrex with cold eyes. She had read all the reports. She knew what kind of creature he was. That evening, there was a formal dinner. Representatives from every Earth nation attended. The room was full of hope and nervous excitement. First contact was supposed to be humanity's greatest moment. Qualrex stood to give a speech. "Humans of Earth," he began, "you have much to learn. The Valorian Empire will teach you. We will show you your place in the galaxy. You will serve, and you will be grateful." Some humans shifted uncomfortably. Others looked angry. But Ji-won had told everyone to stay calm, no matter what happened. Then Qualrex saw Hana standing near the wall. "You there, translator. Come here." Hana walked forward, her steps careful and professional. "You have been useful. Qualarex said. "But I grow tired of your presence. Your voice is annoying. Your face is unpleasant." He turned to his guards. "I think we should demonstrate Valorian authority. Show these humans what happens when we grow tired of them." The guards raised their weapons. Jiwan stepped forward. "Ambassador, please, there is no need." "Silence," Qualarex snapped. "This is a lesson. Watch and learn your place." The energy weapons hummed. Hana's eyes went wide. She looked at Jiwan, then at Teho, then at all the humans in the room who had become her friends over the past week. "I represent Earth with pride," Hana said quietly. The weapons fired. Hana fell. The room was silent. Not a single person moved. The Valorians looked satisfied. They thought the lesson had been taught. But Jiwan Park's face changed. The diplomatic smile disappeared. Her eyes went cold and hard as ice. She looked at Taeho Kim, and he looked back at her. Something passed between them without words. Taeho touched his wrist, pressing a small device hidden under his uniform sleeve. The signal went out instantly, traveling to every military installation on Earth and beyond. Colonel Mina Choi, watching from the back of the room, received the signal. She pulled out her phone and typed 3 words: Protocol, Revelation. Execute. On the Moon, in hidden bases on Mars, in orbital stations disguised as research facilities, thousands of soldiers received the same message. They had trained their entire lives for this moment. They had waited in secret, pretending to be weak. They had watched and prepared. The waiting was over. Qualrex looked around the room, expecting fear. Instead, he saw something that confused him. The humans were smiling. Not friendly smiles. These were the smiles of predators. "Ambassador Qualarex," Jiwan said softly, "you have made a terrible mistake." Outside, in the darkness of space, machines that had been sleeping for decades began to wake up. The United Earth Council met within 2 hours. Every screen in the emergency chamber showed the same thing. Hana Lee, falling, her body hitting the marble floor, the Valorians standing over her without regret. President Sun Ho Kang watched the footage 3 times. His face showed nothing, but his hands gripped the desk hard enough to turn his knuckles white. "How long until we are ready?" he asked. Colonel Mina Choi stood at attention. "All systems are operational. We have been ready for 30 years, sir." "Then we stop pretending," Sun Ho said. "Activate Protocol Revelation." The order went out across the solar system. Humanity had kept secrets for so long that even most humans did not know the truth. For 70 years, since the first alien signals had been detected, Earth had been preparing. While showing the galaxy a friendly face, humanity had built weapons in the shadows. On the Moon, the ground itself began to move. What appeared to be craters were actually camouflaged hangar doors. They slid open slowly, revealing massive spaces underneath. Inside those spaces were ships, not the small research vessels that humans had shown to the Valorians. These were warships, each one the size of a city block. Captain Yuna Han stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, the largest warship humanity had ever built. She had waited 15 years for this day. Her crew of 3,000 had trained in secret, living on the far side of the Moon where no alien sensors could find them. "All stations, report," Yuna said calmly. "Weapons systems online," replied Junho Bei from the tactical station. He was 30 years old and had never fired a shot in real combat. He had run simulations 10,000 times. Today would be real. "Engineering perfect," said Sora Lim from her station. The engines hummed with power that could push the ship to speeds the Valorians thought impossible. Around the Moon, 50 more warships powered up. Their hulls were dark metal that absorbed sensor readings. Their weapons were hidden behind plates that could open in seconds. They had been waiting like sleeping dragons. On Earth, the Valorian delegation was moved from the conference building to a military facility. They protested loudly. Ambassador Colorex demanded to speak with his fleet. He threatened war. He promised that the Valorian Empire would burn Earth to ashes. Commander Quan Li watched the aliens through the security glass. He was an older man, gray-haired and calm. He had fought in wars that the public did not know about. He had killed enemies that the history books would never mention. "Let him talk," Quan said to his guards. "Soon he will understand." Qual Rex noticed that the humans were no longer afraid. The soldiers watching him did not bow. The commander looking through the glass showed no respect. Something had changed. "What are you doing?" Qual Rex demanded. "You cannot hold a Valorian ambassador prisoner." Quan pressed a button, and a screen appeared on the wall. It showed space above Earth. The Valorian scout ships that had been orbiting peacefully were now surrounded. Human ships had appeared from nowhere, dozens of them, all with weapons pointed at the alien vessels. "Your scout ships have two choices," Quan said. "They can power down their weapons and surrender, or they can die. They have 1 minute to decide." "You are bluffing," Qualrex said, but his voice was not as confident as before. The Valorian scouts tried to send messages back to their empire. Every transmission was blocked. Human jamming technology, far more advanced than anything the aliens expected, cut off all communication. The scouts were alone. 45 seconds later, the Valorian scouts surrendered. In orbit, Captain Yunahan reviewed the tactical data. They formed a defensive sphere around Earth, each ship covering angles of approach with precision. "Captain, we are detecting Valorian signals at the edge of the solar system," Junho Bei reported. "Multiple contacts. It looks like a large fleet." "How large?" Yuna asked. "At least 200 ships, maybe more." Yuna smiled. It was not a happy smile. "Good. Let them come. Let them see what we really are." On Mars, more hidden bases came to life. Weapon platforms that had pretended to be mining equipment rotated to face the sky. Missile silos opened across the red planet. Humanity had turned Mars into a fortress, and the galaxy had never suspected. President Sun Ho-Kang prepared to broadcast a message. It would go to every alien species in the known galaxy. It would tell the truth that humanity had hidden for so long. "People of Earth," Sun Ho said into the camera, "and all those watching across the stars. For decades, we have appeared weak. We have smiled and bowed. We have let others think we were primitive. This was a strategy. We learned about you. We studied your weapons, your tactics, your empires. We built our own weapons in secret. We prepared for the day when someone would cross the line." He paused, and his face became hard. "That day has come. The Valorian ambassador murdered an unarmed human woman. He thought we would be afraid. He was wrong." The broadcast showed footage of the hidden fleet. It showed the warships emerging from camouflage. It showed weapon systems that made alien technology look like toys. It showed the T-Tangent-class autonomous ships, each one controlled by an artificial intelligence that could think and fight better than any living crew. "We are not prey," Sun Ho continued. "We are not primitive. We are not weak. We are humanity. And we are done pretending." Across the galaxy, billions of aliens watched in shock. The species they had dismissed as backward children had built an army in secret. The species they thought they could control had been controlling information the whole time. On the Indomitable, Sora Lim ran her hands across the engineering controls. She had helped design this ship. She knew every wire, every circuit, every weapon system. "Engineer's log," she said quietly into her recorder. "We are about to show them what human ingenuity really means. They thought we were decades behind them in technology. The truth is, we are decades ahead. We just let them think otherwise." The Valorian fleet at the edge of the solar system received Earth's broadcast. Admiral Krevnak, commander of the Third Fleet, watched it twice. He did not believe it. It had to be a trick. "Prepare for battle," he ordered. "These humans are bluffing. They have no real military. We will crush them and teach the galaxy what happens to species that defy the Valorian Empire." His fleet began moving toward Earth. 200 ships, armed with weapons that had conquered a dozen worlds. They expected to face frightened primitives. Instead, they were flying toward humanity's trap. Captain Yuna Han watched the enemy fleet approach on her screens. She felt calm. She had trained for this. Her crew had trained for this. Humanity had trained for this. All ships, she broadcast to the fleet. Weapons free. Show them what we are. The sleeping dragons opened their eyes, and they were ready to burn. The battle began near Jupiter. Admiral Krevnak had chosen the location because the giant planet would block Earth's view. He wanted to destroy the human fleet where their homeworld could not see. It would break their spirit, he thought. The Valorian Third Fleet came out of faster-than-light travel in a perfect formation. 200 warships, each one bristling with weapons that had burned cities on other worlds. They expected to find a few desperate human ships trying to look brave. Instead, they found 50 human warships, waiting in complete silence. That is all they have? Krevnak laughed. We outnumber them 4-1. This will be over in minutes. Captain Yuna Han stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the enemy fleet on her screens. She looked calm, but inside her heart was beating fast. This was it. This was the moment humanity would show the galaxy who they really were. Tactical. What is their formation? She asked. Junho Bei studied his screens. Standard Valorian attack pattern, Captain. Heavy ships in front, light ships on the wings, command vessels in the center. They are not even trying to hide their strategy. They think we are easy prey, Yuna said. Let us teach them otherwise. All ships. Execute pattern Ragnarok. The human fleet moved, not slowly like ships usually moved in space. They accelerated so fast that the Valorian sensors could barely track them. Ships that should have taken minutes to change direction did it in seconds. The human vessels split into 3 groups, each one moving to attack the Valorian fleet from different angles. Impossible, Krevnak whispered. No organic crew could survive those accelerations. He was right. Most organic crews could not. But humans had developed inertial dampening technology that the Valorians did not know existed. The crews felt nothing as their ships moved at speeds that should have killed them. The first human attack came from the Indomitable. Yuna gave the order, and Junho Bei pressed the firing controls. The quantum disruptors activated, weapons that used technology the Valorians had never seen. They did not fire energy or missiles. They fired disruptions in space itself. The lead Valorian battleship simply stopped existing. One moment it was there, the next moment it was gone. Torn apart at the atomic level. No explosion. No debris. Just gone. What was that? Krevnak shouted. 5 more Valorian ships disappeared the same way. All vessels, evasive maneuvers. Krevnak ordered. Return fire. Return fire. The Valorian fleet fired their plasma cannons and missile batteries. Thousands of weapons launched at once. Enough firepower to destroy a moon. The human ships dodged. They moved through the weapon fire like dancers, each ship knowing exactly where the others would be. Their coordination was perfect, almost like they shared a single mind. Some weapons hit. The human shields absorbed them easily. Shields that glowed bright blue and did not even flicker under the assault. Their defensive systems are stronger than our weapons, the Valorian tactical officer reported in disbelief. Sora Lim worked frantically in the engineering section of the Indomitable. Every system was performing perfectly, but she kept checking anyway. The Singularity missiles were ready. The plasma lance batteries were charged. And the secret weapon, the one they had not shown yet, was waiting. Captain, she called up to the bridge. Teton Squadron is ready for deployment. Deploy them, Yuna ordered. From the Indomitable and 5 other carriers, smaller ships began to launch. They were sleek and black, each one about the size of a fighter jet. They moved even faster than the warships. But these ships had no crews. They were the T-Tangent class autonomous weapons. controlled by artificial intelligence that could think and react faster than any living being. 20 Titan units launched. Then 40. Then 100. They swarmed the Valorian fleet like angry hornets. Each one carried weapons strong enough to cripple a cruiser. And they fought without fear, without hesitation, without mercy. The Valorians tried to shoot them down. They were too fast. The Titan units dodged and weaved, working together to attack weak points in the Valorian ships. They targeted engines, weapons, command decks. Within 5 minutes, 30 Valorian ships were crippled and drifting. "Retreat," Krevnak finally ordered. All ships, emergency jump to. The human fleet had predicted the retreat. They had positioned ships to block every escape route. When the Valorians tried to open wormholes for faster-than-light escape, human jammers disrupted the process. Ships that tried to jump anyway were torn apart in the distortions. They planned this, Krevnak realized with growing horror. They knew exactly what we would do. They have been studying us. He was right. For 70 years, humanity had listened to alien communications. They had analyzed battle records. They had built computer simulations of every known alien military strategy. The Valorians were fighting an enemy who knew their tactics better than they knew themselves. Junho Bei coordinated the fleet's attack with cold precision. He had studied Valorian military doctrine for 10 years. He knew they would try to regroup around their command ships. He knew they would sacrifice smaller vessels to protect the larger ones. He knew everything. "Target their command vessels," he said calmly. "Break their leadership." The human warships focused fire on the 3 largest Valorian ships. The quantum disruptors, the singularity missiles, the plasma lances, all firing together. The shields on the command vessels held for almost 30 seconds. Then they failed. Admiral Krevnak felt his ship shake as the weapons hit. Explosions rocked through the corridors. The lights flickered. His crew was screaming in panic. "Send a message to the homeworld," he gasped to his communications officer. Tell them the humans were ready for us. Tell them the humans have always been ready." On Earth, President Sun Ho Kang watched the battle through live feeds. Every nation on the planet was watching. Every human saw their fleet destroying an enemy that had called them primitive. Every human saw the strength that had been hidden for so long. "Broadcast this across the galaxy," Sun Ho ordered. "Let every species see what happens when humanity is pushed too far." The message went out. Every species with the technology to receive it saw the Battle of Jupiter. They saw the Valorian Third Fleet, conquerors of worlds, running in terror from human ships. They saw weapons that should not exist. They saw coordination that seemed impossible. Captain Yuna Han allowed the Valorians to retreat. She could have destroyed them all. But that was not the point. The point was to send a message. Let them run. Let them tell their empire what they saw. Let the fear spread. "Cease fire," she ordered. "Let them go." The surviving Valorian ships fled at maximum speed, jumping to faster-than-light travel as soon as they were out of jamming range. They left behind 70 destroyed vessels, and 40 more that were crippled and drifting. Out of 200 ships, less than 90 made it home. Sora Lim reviewed the battle data in engineering. Every system had performed beyond expectations. The weapons had worked perfectly. The Teton units had exceeded their programmed parameters. The shield systems had barely been tested. "We held back," she said to herself. "We used maybe 40% of our real firepower. And we still crushed them." In the detention facility on Earth, Commander Quan Li showed the battle footage to Ambassador Qualrex. The alien watched in silence. His purple skin had turned pale. His 4 arms were shaking. "You were hiding all of this," Qualrex whispered. "While you smiled and bowed, you were hiding all of this." "Yes," Quan said simply. "And now your empire knows. You crossed the line. You murdered Hana Li. Now you see what humanity really is." Qualrex looked at the human commander with new eyes, eyes that held fear. The news spread across the galaxy in days. The Valorian Empire, mighty conquerors of 100 worlds, had been defeated by humans. Species that had feared the Valorians for centuries suddenly saw them as vulnerable. Species that had dismissed humans as primitive suddenly saw them as dangerous. The Galactic Assembly called an emergency session. Representatives from 40 species gathered on the neutral station called Unity. They demanded that both Earth and the Valorian Empire send diplomats immediately to negotiate peace. Ji-won Park received the invitation with cold eyes. She was still mourning Hana Lee. She attended the funeral, watching as they lowered the young translator into the ground. Hana's parents had cried and thanked Ji-won for nothing. Their daughter was still dead. "We should ignore the assembly," Taeho Kim said quietly. "They did nothing when Hana was murdered. They stayed silent. Now they want to stop us from getting justice." "No," Ji-won said. "We will go. We will make them see what they allowed to happen." The Unity Station was ancient and beautiful, built by species that were exploring the stars when humans still lived in caves. The Great Assembly Hall could hold 10,000 beings. Today, it was full. Every species wanted to see what humanity would say. Ji-won walked to the speaking platform. Behind her came Taeho. They wore simple clothes, not military uniforms or fancy diplomatic robes. They looked like ordinary humans. That made them somehow more frightening. "I am Ji-won Park of Earth," she said into the translator devices. "I come to speak about justice, and about the line that was crossed." The Valorian representative, a different ambassador named Thexal, stood up. "The Valorian Empire regrets the unfortunate incident. But your response was disproportionate. You destroyed an entire fleet. You, be silent," Ji-won said softly. But somehow, her voice filled the entire hall. "You will speak when I give you permission." The elder species, the ones who had run the Galactic Assembly for thousands of years, looked shocked. No one spoke to the Valorians that way. No one spoke to anyone that way in the assembly. There were rules. There was politeness. Ji-won pressed a control, and holographic screens appeared throughout the hall. They showed the footage again. Hana Lee, translating. Qualrex, ordering her execution. The weapons firing. A young woman falling dead. "This is what happened," Ji-won said. "An unarmed civilian was murdered during peaceful negotiations. Not killed in combat. Not killed by accident. Murdered deliberately. To make a point, she let the footage play again. We sent messages to the Galactic Assembly immediately. We asked for help. We asked for justice. Do you know what the assembly said?" Silence in the hall. "Nothing," Ji-won continued. "The assembly said nothing. You all saw this happen. You all knew. And you did nothing because you did not want to anger the Valorian Empire. You let them murder one of ours because you were afraid." An elder representative from the Daxian Collective, a species of crystalline beings who had been civilized for 10,000 years, spoke up. "We called for dialogue. We called for calm. We tried to prevent escalation. You called for the victim to show restraint," Taeho said, speaking for the first time. His voice was harder than Ji-won's. "You asked us to forgive murder. You asked us to accept our place beneath the Valorians. You asked us to be good little primitives." The Galactic Assembly representatives shifted uncomfortably. They were not used to being spoken to this way. The one. End quote. Meanwhile, in Valorian space, the Empire was preparing for total war. War Marshal Thexvol, the supreme commander of all Valorian military forces, gathered the Grand Fleet, 800 warships, the largest fleet the Empire had ever assembled. They would crush humanity once and for all. The Third Fleet underestimated them, Thexvol told his officers. "We will not make that mistake. We will attack with overwhelming force. We will destroy their homeworld. We will make an example that the galaxy will never forget." The Grand Fleet began moving toward Earth. It would take them 2 weeks to arrive. 2 weeks for humanity to tremble in fear. But humanity was not trembling. Colonel Mina Choi stood in the command center on Luna, looking at strategic maps of the galaxy. Red dots showed Valorian colony worlds. Blue dots showed human sleeper ships that had been positioned over the past 70 years. Ships that the Valorians did not know existed. "Activate Project Ragnarok," she said quietly. Across the galaxy, near 43 different Valorian colonies, hidden human ships received the signal. They had been waiting in the outer edges of those solar systems, their engines powered down, their hulls cold and dark. Waiting for decades. Now they powered up. Each ship carried weapons designed for a single purpose: planetary destruction. They could sterilize a world. They could crack a planet's crust. They could end billions of lives in minutes. The ships did not attack. They simply revealed themselves. They moved into orbit over the Valorian colonies and sent a message. "We are here. We are watching. If Earth falls, your worlds fall." The Valorian Empire received 43 messages at the same time. Every major colony world suddenly had a human doomsday weapon in orbit. Weapons that had been positioned years ago, waiting silently. "How?" Thexvol demanded. "How did they place ships at all of our colonies without us knowing?" The answer was simple. Humanity had been preparing for first contact for 70 years. They had sent ships slowly, quietly, hiding them in asteroid belts and behind moons. They had been patient. They had planned. On the Unity station, Taeho Kim revealed something else. He played audio recordings of galactic assembly meetings. Private meetings that were supposed to be secret. Meetings where species discussed how to exploit primitive worlds. Meetings where they laughed about the ignorant humans. Meetings where they made deals that broke their own laws. "We have been listening to you for 100 years, Taeho said. "We detected your communications when we first developed radio technology. We did not understand the languages at first, so we stayed quiet and learned. We learned everything." The elder species looked at each other in shock. All their secrets, all their private dealings. Humanity had recordings of everything. "You thought we were primitive," G1 said. "We let you think that. While you thought we were learning to use computers, we were developing artificial intelligence that surpasses anything you have. While you thought we were learning to leave our planet, we were building weapons you cannot imagine. While you thought you were teaching us about the galaxy, we were studying you like insects under glass." A representative from the Kelvin Union, a species of methane-breathing giants, stood up angrily. "This is deception. This is dishonorable." Hana Lee's murder was dishonorable," Jiwon replied. "Everything we did was survival." Captain Yuna Han led a strike force deep into Valorian territory. 50 human ships appeared in their space, without warning, bypassing all their sensors and defenses. They struck the shipyards where the Valorians built their warships. They struck the manufacturing planets where they made weapons. They struck fast and hard, then disappeared before the Grand Fleet could respond. Every attack was precise. Every target was critical. The Valorians realized that humanity knew the locations of every important military facility in their empire. Humanity had been mapping their entire civilization. Sora Lim watched from the Indomitable as Valorian shipyards exploded in the distance. She felt no joy. This was not about revenge. Not really. This was about making sure that what happened to Hana could never happen again. "They pushed us," she said quietly. "They thought we were weak. Now they learned that weakness was camouflage." The Galactic Assembly tried to negotiate. They begged humanity to stand down. They begged the Valorians to surrender. Neither side would listen. War Marshal Thex Vol knew his Grand Fleet was walking into a trap. But he could not back down. The Empire's honor demanded it. The Empire's survival demanded it. If they showed weakness now, every species they had conquered would rebel. The Grand Fleet jumped into Earth's solar system with 800 ships, ready for battle. They found 300 human warships waiting for them in perfect formation. And, behind those ships, the planet Earth. Blue, and beautiful, and defended by creatures who would die before surrendering it. All ships, Yunahan broadcast calmly. Weapons free. Protect our home. The final battle lasted 6 hours. The Valorian Grand Fleet came with 800 warships, and the confidence of an empire that had never truly been defeated. They left with nothing but shame and the memory of their dead. War Marshal Thexvol watched from his command ship as the human fleet moved. They did not charge forward like aggressive warriors. They did not defend passively like frightened prey. They moved like pieces on a game board, each ship knowing exactly where it needed to be. They surrounded his fleet from all directions, cutting off every escape route before the battle even began. They are using quantum tunneling, his science officer reported in disbelief. Their ships are jumping short distances through folded space. That technology should not exist yet. They should need another 1,000 years. What they should have does not matter, Thexvol interrupted. If we are going to die, we die fighting. The Valorian fleet fired first. Thousands of weapons launched at once. Energy beams that could melt mountains. Missiles that could crack moons. The firepower of an entire empire unleashed in one moment. The human shields held. Every single shot was absorbed or deflected. The blue energy barriers around the human ships glowed bright, but never failed. Then humanity fired back. Captain Yunahan had kept her best weapons hidden during the Battle of Jupiter. Now she showed them. The Indomitable fired the Singularity Cannon, a weapon that created tiny black holes that existed for only a fraction of a second. But that fraction was enough. The Valorian flagship's shields collapsed. The hull crumpled inward like paper. The ship that had led the Grand Fleet simply ceased to exist, crushed into a point smaller than an atom. Across the battlefield, human ships revealed weapons the Valorians had never imagined. Plasma weapons that burned hotter than stars. Kinetic accelerators that launched projectiles at 90% of light speed. Molecular disruptors that caused matter to fall apart at the chemical level. And the Titan units. Hundreds of them now, maybe thousands. The autonomous fighters swarmed through the Valorian fleet like a swarm of mechanical hornets. Each one fought with perfect coordination, sharing data and tactics through quantum communication that could not be jammed. Sora Lim monitored the battle from her engineering station. Every system was performing perfectly. The reactors that powered the Indomitable operated at levels that broke every law of thermodynamics that the Valorians understood. Because humanity had not just matched alien technology, they had surpassed it. How are they doing this? A captured Valorian officer would later ask. The answer was simple. Necessity. Humanity had known they were alone in a dangerous galaxy. So they had innovated. They had taken risks. They had built artificial intelligences to help them design weapons. They had run millions of simulations. They had prepared for everything. 3 hours into the battle, Thexvol knew he had lost. Half his fleet was destroyed or crippled. The human casualties were minimal. Maybe 10 ships damaged. None destroyed. They are playing with us, he realized. They could have wiped us out in the first hour. They are letting it drag on to make a point. He was right. Yunahan was giving the Valorians every chance to fight back, to try their tactics, to use their best weapons. She wanted them to see that nothing they had could hurt humanity. She wanted them to feel complete helplessness. Finally, Thexvol opened a communication channel. Yuna forwarded the request to Earth. President Sun Ho Kang received it in his office. Jiwon Park and Taeho Kim stood with him. They looked at each other. They thought of Hana Lee, buried on a hillside near Geneva. Tell him the terms, Sun Ho said quietly. The surrender terms were harsh. Ambassador Qualrex and every member of his delegation who participated in or knew about Hana Lee's murder would be extradited to Earth for trial. The Valorian Empire would pay reparations to Hana's family and to Earth. They would formally acknowledge humanity as their equal in the Galactic Assembly. No, not their equal. Their superior. And one more term. The Valorian Empire would reduce its military to defense forces only. They would not be allowed to conquer any more worlds. Ever. The Lorian? The Lorian? That's no. These terms are unacceptable, Thexvol said. You are asking us to destroy our empire. We are giving you a choice, Yuna replied. Thexvol looked at his remaining ships. 300 out of 800. His officers looked at him with desperate eyes. Some wanted to fight to the death. Others just wanted to go home. He thought about his family on the Valorian homeworld. He thought about the billions of civilians on the colony planets, with human doomsday weapons hanging in orbit above them. He thought about the empire he had served his entire life. I accept your terms, he said finally. The Galactic Assembly reconvened on Unity Station. This time, everyone came. Every species sent their highest representatives. They needed to witness what would happen next. President Sunho Kang addressed them personally. He did not send Jiwan or Taeho. He came himself, wearing a simple suit, looking like an ordinary middle-aged man from an ordinary planet. Today, the galaxy learned a lesson, he said. For thousands of years, you elder species have controlled everything. You decided which species could join the assembly. You decided what technology could be shared. You decided who lived and who died. You thought you knew everything. He paused and looked at each representative. You knew nothing. While you thought you were the masters of the galaxy, one species prepared in silence. While you thought you were advanced, one species surpassed you. While you thought you were safe, one species became the most dangerous force in known space. The Daxian Collective Representative, a being of living crystal that had existed for 3,000 years, spoke. What will you do now, humans? Will you become conquerors like the Valorians? Will you build an empire of your own? Sunho smiled slightly. We will do what we have always wanted to do. We will explore. We will learn. We will trade. We will make friends with species who treat us with respect. His smile disappeared. And we will destroy anyone who threatens us. Completely. Without hesitation. Without mercy. The trial of Ambassador Qualrex took place on Earth, broadcast to the entire galaxy. Commander Quan Li personally escorted the former ambassador into the courtroom. Qualrex looked smaller somehow. Diminished. His forearms were bound. His purple skin looked pale. The trial lasted 3 days. The evidence was overwhelming. Qualrex had ordered Hana's execution. He had done it deliberately. He had felt no remorse. Do you have anything to say? The judge asked. Qualrex looked at the humans watching him. He saw their faces. He finally understood what he should have seen from the beginning. These were not prey animals. These were predators who had learned to smile. I underestimated you, he said quietly. I thought you were weak because you were kind. I thought you were stupid because you were patient. I was wrong. He paused. But I will not apologize. I am Valorian. We do not apologize to lesser species. Then you have learned nothing, the judge said. The sentence is life imprisonment. You will spend the rest of your days on Luna, in a cell, thinking about the young woman you murdered and the empire you destroyed. Captain Yunahan and her crew received medals and honors. They were heroes across Earth. But Yuna did not feel like a hero. She felt tired. Will there be more wars? A reporter asked her. Probably, Yuna said honestly. Other species will test us. They will want to see if we are really as strong as we appear. We will have to prove ourselves again and again. She looked at the camera. But we will win. We will always win. Because we prepare. Because we think ahead. Because we never forget. Axis. 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 Sora Lim returned to her work, designing the next generation of warships. There would be new threats. New challenges. Humanity needed to stay ahead. "Do you ever wonder if we went too far?" her assistant asked one day. "We destroyed so much of their fleet. They killed Hana Lee." Sora replied simply, "They thought we would accept it. They thought we were too weak to respond. We showed them the truth." She looked at the designs on her screen, and now every other species knows. You can trade with humanity. You can be friends with humanity. But if you hurt humanity, we will end you. A memorial was built on Luna for Hana Lee. It was a simple statue showing a young woman holding a book of languages. At the base were her final words: "I represent Earth with pride." People came from all over Earth to see it. They brought flowers. They left messages. Hana had become a symbol of everything humanity had fought to protect. The innocence that the galaxy had tried to steal. The kindness that they had almost lost. Years passed. The Valorian Empire shrank and became peaceful. Other species approached Earth cautiously, respectfully, offering true partnership instead of domination. The galaxy slowly reorganized itself around a new reality. Humanity was no longer a minor species. They were a major power. Perhaps the major power. On Unity Station, the Galactic Assembly formally recognized Earth's military supremacy. It was a ceremony that would have been impossible 10 years earlier. The elder species stood and bowed to the human representatives. Jiwan Park, older now but still sharp, accepted the recognition. She said, "We just want to be left alone to grow and explore in peace. But if anyone threatens that peace, they will learn what Qualrex learned. They will learn what the Valorians learned." She looked at the assembled species. "Humanity is patient. Humanity is kind. But humanity is also dangerous. Remember that. Remember Hana Lee. Remember the fleet that came to conquer us and went home in pieces. Remember that we are always watching, always preparing, always ready." The ceremony ended. Jiwan walked out of the hall with Teho beside her. They were both thinking the same thing. The war was over, but the vigilance would never end. "Do you think we will ever really have peace?" Teho asked. "Maybe," Jiwan said. "But we will never have it by being weak. We will have it by being so strong that no one dares to threaten us." She smiled slightly. Hana would have understood that. She was gentle, but she was also brave. That is what humanity is. Gentle, until we need to be terrible. Far away, on a distant world, a young alien student studied human history. She read about the Battle of Jupiter. She read about the trial of Qualrex. She read about Hana Lee. "Teacher," she asked, "why did the humans hide their strength for so long?" Her teacher, an old being who had lived through those times, answered carefully. "Because they were studying us. They wanted to understand the galaxy before revealing themselves. They were patient, and patience, child, is the most dangerous weapon of all." The student thought about that. "Are humans still dangerous?" "Always," the teacher said. "But they are also fair. They will be your friend if you treat them well. They will be your nightmare if you treat them badly." That is the lesson the Valorians learned. The teacher looked at the stars. And the galaxy never forgot. On Earth, in a quiet cemetery near Geneva, flowers still appeared on Hana Lee's grave every week. No one knew who brought them. Some said it was her family. Others said it was veterans from the fleet. Some said it was just ordinary citizens who wanted to remember. The truth was that it was all of them. Humanity never forgot. They never forgot kindness. They never forgot cruelty. They never forgot the young woman who died representing Earth with pride. And across the galaxy, in 1,000 languages, species told their children the same story. The story of the species that smiled while preparing for war. The species that seemed weak until they showed their teeth. The species called humanity. The predators who learned to pretend they were prey until the day they stopped pretending.